Social habits to silently eliminate from your life. Stoic philosophy. Do you ever feel like you are just following rules that you never agreed to? I used to be like that too, constantly worrying about pleasing others and being nice. But one day I realized something shocking. Most of the social habits we are taught are designed to keep us stuck, not to help us grow. So if you are ready to get off the treadmill of life and start living life on your own terms, it is time to get rid of these toxic social habits. This will be uncomfortable and it will definitely be unpopular, but rust meat will free you. The number one social habit is people pleasing. Let's talk about people pleasing, a habit that is so ingrained in us that we often mistake it for kindness. But here is what people pleasing is: not kindness. It is self-sabotage disguised as politeness. I was the poster child for this, saying yes to every request, smiling to every inconvenience, and making it difficult for myself just to make others happy. I thought I was being generous, but in reality I was just putting other people's needs above my own at my own expense. The turning point came when I realized that constantly pleasing others was not only exhausting but a one-way road to resentment. I was trying to please people who didn't even appreciate it. The funny thing was, the more I tried to please people, the less respect I got, as by always saying yes, I was telling the world that my time, energy, and even my self-worth could be stolen. So I decided to flip the script. I started saying now when I wanted to, without a long list of excuses to justify it. And guess what? The world didn't end. In fact, the people who actually cared about me respected my boundaries and admired my newfound confidence. Yes, some people were shocked, maybe even a little offended, but those reactions just revealed who was really on my side. This is the controversial part. People-pleasing is selfish, not altruistic. When you constantly try to please people, you don't do it for them. You do it to avoid discomfort, rejection, or confrontation. It's about protecting yourself from feeling bad. It's not about actually helping others. When I realized this, is stopped trying to be everyone's best friend and started being myself. So if you're still stuck in the people-pleasing cycle, it's time to wake up. You're not a doormat, and your worth is not tied to how much you can give to others. Break out of this habit, and you will find that the important people will stay, while the unimportant people will quietly disappear. And trust me, life will be so much easier when you don't carry everyone else's expectations on your shoulders. The second habit is holding a grudge. Holding a grudge is like holding a hot coal in the hope that the person who wronged you will feel the heat. I used to be an expert at this, clinging to every hurtful and betrayal word, believing my resentment was a form of justice. I thought that by holding on to anger I was guarding myself from more pain, but the truth is, holding on to a grudge does more harm to you than to anyone else. It's like poisoning your heart and expecting someone else to suffer. There was a time when someone I trusted deeply betrayed me. I held on to that anger for years, replaying the scenario in my head, imagining different outcomes where I got the last word. I thought that by holding on to that grudge I was somehow maintaining control, keeping the pain at bay, but instead of feeling strong, I felt burdened by the weight of my own resentment. The grudge didn't keep me safe, it held me stuck. Here is the deep truth. Holding on to a grudge is like anchoring yourself in a rough sea. You think it will keep you steady, but in reality it is dragging you down, drowning you in the sea of bitterness and pain. The longer you hold on, the deeper you sink, until you realize that the only way to save yourself is to let go. But letting go is not forgetting or condoning what happened. It is choosing peace over pain. And I finally realized that forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about reclaiming your own freedom. It is about saying, I refuse to let this hurt define who I am or how I live my life. When I finally let go of that grudge, I felt a huge sense of relief, as if weight had been lifted off my shoulders. That is when I understood that holding a grudge does not protect you from future harm. It only keeps you chained to the past, and this is the deeper message: life is too short to live in chain. Especially the ones we inflict on ourselves, are chains that bind us to our wounds. Brev. Nantingus from healing, growing, and find true happiness. Forgiveness is the key to unlocking those chains. It is an act of courage, of self-love, and of deep wisdom. It is to acknowledge that while we cannot change the past, we have the power to shape our futures. So if you find yourself holding grudges, ask yourself, is this really how you want to spend your energy? Is this how you want to define your life? Let go, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Release your burdens and see how your life unfolds when you no longer let the wounds of the past dictate your present and future. The most profound message is that forgiveness is not about righting wrongs, it is about making yourself whole again. The third habit is ignoring the red flags in relationships. We have all been the stuck in a relationship where things seem to be wrong, but we still convince ourselves continue, maybe because we're afraid of being alone, or we believe things will magically improve over time. I've been guilty of this. This is also ignoring the glaring red flags because I don't want to face the truth. But here's the harsh reality. Ignoring red flags in a relationship is like driving with your eyes closed. You are bound to crash. And the more you ignore them, the worse it gets. I was in a relationship that I knew was toxic from the start. There were constant arguments, disrespectful comments, and lack of trust, but instead of facing the problem or leaving, I kept making excuses. It was just a rough patch. I said myself, or everyone has flaws, and maybe I'm overreacting. I wanted it to work out so badly that I ignored all the signs that it was doomed to fail. The truth is, red flags appear for area sun. They are warning signs that something is fundamentally wrong, whether it's disrespect, important, constant dishonesty, or behaviors that make you feel uncomfortable. These signs should not be ignored or taken lightly. When you ignore red flags, you are essentially choosing to compromise your own happiness to stay in a relationship. It is not in your best interest. This is the controversial part. Ignoring red flags is not being too forgiving or too optimistic. It's a betrayal of yourself when you choose to ignore the warning signs. You're telling yourself that your needs, your emotions, and intuition are not important. You are prioritizing the comfort or approval of others over your own happiness and peace of mind. And that is a dangerous game. I have learned the hard way that red flags do not go away, they get big. More destructive over time. The more you ignore them, the worse they become, turning what could have been a small problem into a major crisis. In my case, the relationship eventually fell apart, and I wondered why I didn't leave sooner than things got worse. The signs were there all along, but I chose to turn a blind eye. This is the profound message. Ignoring the red flags is not only avoiding uncomfortable truths, it is denying yourself the respect and love you deserve. You deserve a relationship where you feel safe and valued, and not listening to anyone. You are constantly in a state of stress. Hopping things will change when you start to notice the red flags. Listen to them. It is your intuition's way of protecting you, guiding you to something better. Getting out of a relationship that has red flags is not easy, especially if you are emotionally invested, but it is a necessary step towards self-protection and growth. It is about choosing yourself over the fear of being alone or hoping that things will improve. It is about realizing that you deserve more than accepting a relationship that does not respect you as a person. So if you are in a relationship that has red flags waving, don't ignore them, don't make excuses, or convince yourself that you can do it on your own. By being silent, you are choosing to let that power go to waste. But when you speak up, you are not only supporting others, you are reclaiming your own integrity, strengthening your values, and showing the world who you really are. So the next time you want to be silent on an important issue, remember that your voice matters. It can make a difference, even if it is just in one person's life. Don't let fear or complacency stop you from speaking up. The world needs more courageous voices, more people willing to stand up for what is right, even when it is hard. Because in the end, being silent on important issues doesn't protect you, it weakens you, and the price of that silence is too high. Fifth, paying habit. Constant viewing. Seeking entertainment. In today's world, where endless streams of content are just a click away, constant entertainment seeking has become second nature. We're bombarded by social media, television shows, video games, and more designed to keep us hooked and coming back for more. You admit, I used to get caught up in this vicious cycle too. Every spare moment is spent scrolling through my phone, watching the latest series, or finding out about the next viral trend. It feels great in the moment. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Constant entertainment seeking is a subtle form of escapism, and it is slowly eroding our ability to face reality, think deeply, and live meaningful lives. I miss the days when I would mindlessly drift from one form of entertainment to another, barely noticing the passage of time. It's easy to get lost in the endless sea of distractions, convincing myself I'm just relaxing or distressed, but over time I realized that what I was actually doing was avoiding something much more important than my own thoughts, emotions, and responsibilities. The need for constant entertainment not only filled my time, but also filled a void I didn't want to face. This is where things get controversial. Seeking constant entertainment is a way of numbing ourselves to the realities of life. We turn to it to avoid uncomfortable boredom, and sometimes even our own thoughts, but by constantly distracting ourselves, we're depriving ourselves of the opportunity to grow. To reflect and truly experience life, we are trading depth for shallow, ephemeral pleasures that do nothing more than temporarily fill the voids in our lives. Think about it. The last time you sat quietly without reaching for your phone or turning on the TV. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be bored, just to sit with your thoughts and see where they took you? For many of us, the idea of being alone with our thoughts is scary, so drone them out with endless entertainment, but in doing so miss out on something incredibly valuable, the opportunity to really get to know ourselves to face the things that bother us and find meaning beyond the distractions. I learned this lesson when I decided to take a break from all the noise. I did a digital detox, cutting out social media, TV, and all the usual dis. The deeper message here is that constant entertainment is not only a harmless habit, but also a barrier to personal growth, self-discovery, and a meaningful life. When we fill every moment with distractions, we are avoiding the very things that can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. We are missing out on the richness that comes from self-reflection, creativity, and real-life experiences. There's nothing wrong with enjoying entertainment in moderation. But when it becomes a constant need, it is time to take a step back and ask ourselves what we are really avoiding. Is it the discomfort of being alone with our own thoughts, or the fear of facing our challenges head-on? The emptiness of a life that only exists on the surface. If you find yourself constantly seeking entertainment, challenge yourself to take a break, take time out in silence, engage in meaningful conversations, pursue hobbies that don't involve screens, or just sit and think. It may be uncomfortable at first, but it is in those uncomfortable moments that real growth takes place. You will find life is much richer when you're not constantly running away from it. And true happiness doesn't come from distractions, but from a life lived with intention and purposes. So stop filling every moment with noise and start embracing silence. Give up the need for constant entertainment, and you will discover a deeper, more fulfilling way of living that is not about escaping reality, but about fully embracing it. The sixth habit: oversharing personal information. In an age where social media encourages us to share every aspect of our lives with the world, it is easy to fall into the trap of oversharing personal information. We have all seen a friend's long emotional Facebook post, or someone sharing their love story on Instagram for all to see. I have also been guilty of this, believing that sharing my struggles, opinions, and private moments with others online or in person is a way to connect, be authentic, and build relationships. But here is the hard truth. Sharing too much personal information does not bring us closer to others, but often pushes them away and makes us vulnerable in ways we never anticipated. I remember when I first joined social media, I thought that sharing my life openly would make me more approachable and help others understand me better. I would post about my bad days, work frustrations, and vent the ups and downs of my relationships. At first, it felt comfortable to say everything, to be completely open and honest, but over time, I noticed something trouble. Instead of feeling more connected to others, I started to feel exposed, and even judgmental people I barely knew influenced my life, gave unsolicited advice, or worse, used my vulnerability against. This is the controversial part. Sharing too much personal information is not about authenticity. It's about seeking validation and attention. It is damaging to our privacy and dignity. When we share too much, we seeks impa. The opposite effect: oversharing can make others uncomfortable. It puts them in an awkward position or makes them question our judgment and boundaries. It can also attract unwanted attention from people who may exploit our weaknesses rather than support us. In my case, I learned the hard way that not everyone who listens to your story has your best interests at heart. But the deeper problem with oversharing is what it does to our sense of self when we frequently share our personal information with others, especially in public forums where outsourcing our emotional processing instead of taking the time to reflect on our experiences, to understand our feelings and decide what is truly worth sharing. We're rushing things out in the hope of getting immediate feedback or validation. This not only devalues our experiences, but also prevents us from developing the inner strength and resilience that comes from processing our emotions privately. The underlying message here is that privacy is a form of power, and oversharing is a way of empowering that disempowering. It is important to understand that not every gut feeling or experience needs to be shared with the world. Some things are best kept to ourselves, or shared only with people who have earned our trust and truly care about our well-being. By being more selective about what we share and who we don't, keep secrets or are dishonest, we're being wise. We're preserving our dignity, protecting our vulnerabilities, and maintaining control over our own story. This doesn't mean you should never open up to others. Sharing is an essential part of building meaningful relationships, but it's about finding a balance, knowing when and where to share, and understanding that not everything aspects of your life need to be shown. The people who truly care about you will appreciate the parts of you that you choose to share without knowing every detail, and those who don't deserve to know the most private parts of your life. Anyway, if you find yourself in the habit of oversharing, take a step back and ask yourself why you are seeking validation. Are you trying to fill an emotional void? Are you hoping that by putting things out there, you will find the connection or support that you are missing on C. Understand the underlying reasons, you can start to address them in healthier and more private ways. Ultimately, the key to authentic connection is not about oversharing, but about being intentional about what you share and with who. It is about realizing that your personal information is valuable, and note everyone deserves access to them by setting boundaries around your personal life. You are not closing yourself off to others. You are ensuring that the relationships you have are built on a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and true understanding, and that is far more valuable than the fleeting satisfaction of oversharing. These habits, whether it is people-pleasing, holding grudges, or seeking constant entertainment, are subtle C, but living with integrity, unburdened by the expectations of others. So quietly and confidently eliminate these habits one by one. Watch your life become simpler, more meaningful, and deeper. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video on the Stoic Wisdom channel.